What's up guys, it's GQ. I got Kareem in the chair, and lately I've noticed that a lot of guys have been growing out their beards. It's acceptable in the workplace and a lot of guys want to have fuller length, so I want to show you guys how to blend out your haircuts into the beard. Let's get started. I'm going to first start using the balder, and in this case I like to start here because it allows me to get really close to the skin, so it's a little bit less than using a zero on the sides. So if you're going to set it up where you're taking it down to the skin, you want to take a lot of bulk out first. Then I grab my electric razor because now that I've already set up that area and taken it really close, I can use a foil razor, an electric razor, and take it even tighter. Now I'm going to grab my clipper to start the actual fade. So where we left off with the sideburn area, I'm going to work my way into the temple area and do some blending. So I have a 0, I turn the lever up to a 1/2, so it creates a 1/2 size larger, and I'll spend some time working back and forth between a 0 and a 1/2. And if you notice, we worked out of the sideburn area and I'm working into the fade, which is going to lead into the crown. So we'll use the trimmer so that way we can blend the 0 into where we left off with the electric razor. In order to get that tight, you got to use a tight blade, so that's where the trimmer comes in. So I'll grab my clipper and I want to do a little bit more touch-up work in the fade haircut area. So if you're working both on the blend into the beard and also the haircut itself into the crown, this is where you spend a little bit of time doing some detail work. So what I would like to do is continue to follow through with the actual haircut. In this case, there's a little bit of a shadow in the crown area, so I use the number 1 attachment or 1 guard. And this is where you do some detail work. If you are finishing up the fade, this is where I'm going to spend some time to work on the blend. That way, once the haircut itself is taken care of, I can then transition into the overall haircut being blended into the beard on the facial area. So now let's work our way into the beard. I'm going to start with the 1 first because his facial hair isn't too long, so I'm going to start taking the bulk out. But then I like to break it down into 3 parts. After I take the 1 attachment off, I'm going to start with the 1/2 first. Then I'm going to turn the lever down halfway, so not quite to a 0. And then I'm going to take the haircut down to a 0. So in 3 parts, I go from a 1/2, halfway down to a 0, and then I take it down to a 0. I'll do that step maybe about twice, just so I can make sure I can buff it out. I use the number 1 attachment one last time, just so I can make sure I can get rid of any weight lines or shadows. And a lot of times I'm using the 1 to blend right into the length of the beard. Now I'm using the 1 attachment just so I can polish off the fade. Once you start blending into the beard, you can take a step back. You can see the overall picture. And then I like to go back and forth with using a 1/2, using a 0, going back to a 1. It's really kind of like if you're polishing off a shoe, you really want to spend some time polishing off that section just so you can get a nice blend. Throughout the haircut or during the beard blend, use a barber brush. That way you can really see what you're working with in the surface of that area. Here I'm just doing the final touches on the haircut. When you're blending from the haircut into the beard, remember you want to start off with a longer length on your guard and then you work your way into a shorter length so that way you can blend right into the haircut. Hopefully that helps you out.